values to valued culture. Here is your host, Will Scott, interviewing another CEO about leading culture in their company.
Hello listeners, and welcome to another Culture Czars interview where we talk to CEOs that care about corporate culture. We call this series From Core Values to Valued Culture, and our purpose is to help CEOs create environments where employees love where they work and why they work. And Bejan Douraghy is my guest today. Delighted to be talking to him. Bejan is CEO and Czar of Culture at Artisan Talent. Good morning, Bejan.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. How are things today?
Things are great. You know, I'm looking forward to, it's a Friday, right?
It's Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And CEOs that care about corporate culture love talking about culture. So hopefully you're going to love it today too.
That would be great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, tell us a little bit about Artisan Talent.
Artisan Talent, we are a temporary staffing company, and we also place full-time as well talent. And we specialize in the industry of placing digital, creative, and marketing talent only. So that's our niche. That is what we do. I founded the company in Chicago, and after a few years of trial and error, of course, didn't start off wonderfully. However, I did end up opening up offices in different cities. And we're in New York, Indianapolis, DC, Denver, and have a sister affiliation in San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Well, congratulations. So you started this company from scratch yourself, I think 20 years ago or something?
Hate to admit it, it's actually 30 now.
30 years?
30 years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, congrats. Classic entrepreneurial story. And it's must be great having those different locations. What does corporate culture mean to you?
Corporate culture to me is actually the essence of my company. It's the essence of how I think. It's what I believe. It's how I guess I call it. I walk the talk. My belief is if the C-level or a CEO isn't really into culture or doesn't believe what their culture is they actually create their own culture without knowing it. And so I really, in essence, I try to talk the talk and walk it. And, if it doesn't start at the top, you really don't have control as to what it's going to be like with all your employees.
So it sounds like one of the questions I typically ask later, is where does it rank in sort of strategic importance for you? But I think you've answered that culture for you, everything begins with culture for you. Everything
begins with culture. And I'd say, even the title, if you want, if that's presumptuous, right? Chief Executive Officer. I really look at it as the Chief Empathy Officer.
Okay.
Meaning that you really need to understand who your employees are. You really want to know where they're coming from. I'm sure we'll go into more depth, but that's kind of how I look at things.
Okay. Is empathy brought into your culture, by the way? Is that something that you talk about?
Yes, it is. It's something we talk about. It's something we actually hire around. It's something, it's a key element in our hiring process is we do want to, that is part of our I'd say, differentiator is how we behave internally. And that extends out to the talent that we are placing and also our clients and how we behave with our clients.
Sure. So is empathy actually one of your core values?
Yeah, it's a driver. It really is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you use that then? You talked about in hiring and everything. How do you go about the hiring process to make sure you're getting people that are fitting the culture?
It's not an easy thing to do. I know we definitely are hiring. We do have behavioral interview. Use many questions, and we have a particular process that we have interviewees go through. And the characteristics that we're looking for, if it's cultural characteristics that we've defined, are more on we're saying smart, caring, nurturing, creative, and driven. And those are the key values that we are striving to find. You're not going to get it in everyone, but those are the ones that we are looking for. And you can hire for that. You can look for those traits.
Absolutely. I encourage clients to definitely have behavioral questions, or as you say, or even scenario-based questions, and to tie those scenario-based questions to real stories that have happened in the company's history that have helped define the culture for that company. And then you kind of have the right answer too, because you know how the story went. And one of your cultural czars, one of your employees that represents the culture, how they behaved in that situation. So it's great to use that for scenario-based questions. And for sure, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And you can actually hire people that fit the culture.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing, as an add-on, maybe after we do make the hire, we do use as an onboarding process, of course, to make sure that the language is clear and everything is. We do use Strength Finder. That is something we brought into the company maybe 2-3 years ago. And I'd say that has really changed the way we speak, actually, even to each other, and really recognizing what everyone's strength is. And, sometimes someone's strength can look like it's a weakness, it enables us to really talk to each other at a different level, and we have the same vocabulary going across the board. So that I'd say culturally has really helped us become a much better communicative company.
Interesting. Yes, that's from Marcus Buckingham's work, right? First discover your strengths.
Yeah, yes, Gallup, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Quite simple. It's actually inexpensive. Doesn't cost hundreds of dollars to do it. I think it's about $25 or something like that per test, and you get a great book, and it gives you your 5 top strengths. You can go a lot deeper if you want, but we just focus on the 5 top.
Yeah, I've been through that myself, actually, and recently revisited what the results were for my profile. And I presume you share that with the candidates too, or the successful employees, so that they learn something about themselves through that process as well.
Absolutely, we share it, and we also have it's in our in our break room where everyone's top 5 strengths are listed, so that you can go and have a better understanding as to who you're working with, who your coworkers are, and go back to your book and kind of read what those strengths are and how you can communicate with that person.
Okay, and how are you using? I mean, are you evaluating existing employees based on your core values as well on some sort of frequency?
I'd say, we after they've done the Strength Finder and all of that, we probably don't do the testing, because hopefully by that time they are integral in our culture and they understand who we are. If there's a way, I think of trying to making sure that people are still behaving or having those behavioral traits. Is the only thing that we do send out. This is really to our clients and to our talent. We try to get our NPS scores, our Net Promoter Scores, and that's a really good indicator if we're doing well or not. But preferred or we're not. So that we use that. That works quite very well.
So clearly that's a measurement of business performance, but you're also saying that it's kind of a measure of your culture, because if you're succeeding there, then your employees are representing your core values opposite your customers. Yeah,
and our talent. So exactly. So if we get a score
and
below
your talent,
6, I get flagged. So then I can talk about it, or we can work through it and just find out what happened. How can we learn from this particular situation?
That's super interesting. Yeah. So clearly you're very adept at making the culture come alive and keep it thriving in the organization. Mm-hmm. Did you always have core values in your 30-year history?
No, definitely not.
I didn't think so. So tell us the story about how core values first came about at Artisan Talent.
I think it was in more of a gut feeling for me initially, because I really didn't know what it was. And I think what happened for me was, even at the beginning, I knew very early on what I wanted if I were to create a company. And I think that's when I look back, why did I leave the company and start my own, was really that it wasn't a cultural fit. For me, she was all about with any business. Of course, you need KPIs. You need to be successful. You need to make sales, et cetera, et cetera. But my belief was I wanted to turn it around. What was missing was if you have the right people in place and you have the right culture in place, those numbers will follow. They will come. But if you're just all about numbers, you're all about KPIs and everything else, it becomes that's just not the culture I wanted. And I believe that you really need that human element, whatever that is through discovery, of course, but that was the thing that was, to me, that was really missing. That, and I said, if I were to create a company, I wanted a company where people felt that they were part of something bigger and not just a job. That it was going to become a career for them.
Absolutely, which is why we do the work that we do at Czars. Is just we think there's so much opportunity to work on culture and help employees enjoy where they work and why they work. And you just spoke to the why, so they feel like they're doing something meaningful. That's awesome. How do you describe what they're doing meaningful? Is it around what you're doing for your talent or your clients, or?
You know what? That took a while to come to that conclusion, and that where we came to that, I guess that was to come up with a phrase that explains what we do and explains our culture. Yeah. And that phrase for us is inspiring better lives.
Wow.
So that is us. I mean, that whatever we do, mission statements and all that stuff, we really, that's gone. Yeah. And we wanted to really bring it down to one phrase. And that, of course, was not easy. But for us, it's about inspiring better lives. So inspiring better lives, how are we doing that for our clients? How are we doing that for the talent that we represent? And then how are we doing it internally? I think that sometimes really gets missed. Everyone's focusing on the client process, the client engagement and everything. And then it's, for us, it's our other vertical is the talent that we represent in place. And then the piece that I feel that gets missed is your employees. And now culture is becoming this, word that, the C-suite is ignoring.
Yes.
Now, for sudden, with the emergence of the younger generation, they're much in tune with culture. They're much in tune with who they are, where they want to go. They're not, if they don't like the company, they're going away.
I quite agree. Yeah. Millennials are telling us all the time. It's really important to them not just to have a job, but to be doing something meaningful. And I think you're right. They also care about the way things feel. And culture ultimately, I think, is about the way things feel, at work, and how they feel when you walk into an office or into a room, or even if you're working remotely. What's the feeling that you get? So the whole thing about values, which is why you use the word inspired, which of course is a great inspirational word in itself. Right. But take us to this. What's an example then of how you can make your clients' lives better, and an example of how you can make your talent lives better and your employees? Just take us through that, because so many people haven't figured out their why. So you clearly are focused on the why at Artisan Talent, and I think people would like to hear more about that.
I'd say from an inspirational aspect or inspiring better lives, there's a couple examples. A simple one is more where a talent will become, if we have a good interaction with our talent and we may not even find them the job, but for us, it's about building that rapport and building that relationship right at the beginning. So whoever that person does end up, be it us placing them or they get a job, and what happens is they will call us and say, you know what, I really enjoyed the experience that I had with you. I want to work with you and use your talent directly. A lot of times they may get laid off. They will come back and they become talent. So that happens quite a bit. Or, they may just needing help with their resume and they want to have it rewritten, or their portfolio needs to be redone. We will help them with that. There's no charge there. We just want to help them with their career through their career.
Which helps them have better lives.
Yeah, and have better lives, exactly. Yeah. For our client side is making it easier for them to do their job, making it easier for them to focus on what they need to do to be successful in their position, so that we're coming into, hopefully making them look good in the light of their managers, but making their job easier, and so that they can, continue in their career. One example was, for me personally, I get inspirational in many ways, is that it was with a large Fortune 100 company, and they were looking for talent, and they had a position that they wanted to find someone that could be a software engineer, but with that help people with disabilities.
Okay.
And we found someone, and he's an amazing person. He's inspirational himself. He's completely blind, And we found him. We found him the position at United. He's become their top software engineer now. He was a freelancer for 3 years or so, and we eventually got him to get hired there full time. And that's a great story.
That's a great story. So obviously you helped make his life better.
Yeah.
United, obviously, the people there that were trying to fill that role, their lives are better. Mm-hmm. And then what about, your employee or associate that I guess placed that guy that worked on that project? He feels like his life's better as a result of it.
Absolutely. It's that bringing that happiness there, that it's something that's not monetary, that feeling that you said, that culture that you come in. It's not a monetary thing. It's that feeling that we get, and it's a good win-win, fun, positive feeling for that moment.
That's awesome. And do you think your associates, when they're doing their work, then and they're trying to place talent with one of your clients,
right,
are they so they're not just trying to fill the post and put a bum in a seat? They are really. Do you think it's really in their mind that if I help make my clients or my contact on my clients' lives better as a result of making this placement, that of course builds Artisan for the long term, right?
Sure. And that's we believe our differentiator is we really do believe that. We really adhere to that. And if someone comes in that's all about the numbers and everything else, it usually culture, it's a very strong culture. So they're either going to work out or they're not. And that's what, when you have a strong culture, that's how it works well.
Yeah. That's awesome. Gosh, I'm glad we spent a bit more time focusing there on your why. And it also reminds me that I encourage CEOs to think of themselves as not just managing a company, but managing a culture, which I think is a change in mindset, and it makes you think more expansively about what you're doing as a leader. And you're clearly extending your culture to, outside your immediate organization and employees, to the talent and the people that you place and to your clients. So you really are leading a culture there, Bejan. And do you think like that? Do you think sort of broader than the four walls of the company?
Oh, yeah, I really do. I really do think that way. And in terms of culture itself, I mean, I just say culture eats strategy. If you could have the best strategy in the world, you can have all these KPIs and all these metrics that you want to meet. But if your employees are not in alignment with your vision, with how you are as a leader, because you're the one that is instigating that culture. So they'll create their own culture. If you
right.
They will create their own way of doing things.
Yes. So would you rather be deliberate and manage a culture so you get the one you want, or just let it end up being a default culture?
And it will, because the culture will define itself, and you will see what happens if you let it go. I guess the other way for me, in terms of getting to know my employees, I think, of course, sometimes at the C-level, it's quite difficult, to get to know every single one.
Yeah.
Every single person, but there are little things you can do, that, I'd say culturally is having rituals that you have at your organization, whatever those rituals are, celebrations. A real simple one for me is going in the morning when I get there is saying good morning to everybody.
Yeah.
It's really simple, very easy. Once I didn't do it, people thought that I was in a bad mood. Something was wrong. What's Bejan thinking?
Interesting. So that really is a ritual that's become part of culture, and people expect it now. Yeah.
They expect it, and then we, of course, if we get a new client or whatever it may be, there are certain rituals, birthdays, recognizing people for how long they've been at the company. I mean, there's a lot of little things that don't cost a lot of money, but it's just recognizing the person. I think it's quite simple, but a lot of people forget about it. I guess one other maybe tidbit is I call it the employee iceberg. If per se, the employee comes to you, the tip of the iceberg, that's all the good stuff, right?
Yes.
So, and then underneath is everything that makes up that person. What I try to tell, again, I don't need to know everything, but I want to know the person's, or the manager should know the person's aspirations, their dreams. How are you as a company going to get them to get to the next level, whatever that is?
Yeah.
But you're not going to do that if you don't know what's underneath the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You have to know all of that. That's what and I try to instill that thinking.
So how do you do that? Are you basically promoting, I guess, conversations and just where people are sharing and talking and
being authentic. I don't know why that's so difficult, but yes, actually being authentic, transparent, authentic, and actually, people. If you're not authentic, people know right away. You can't fake that. Again, you don't have to be the person's best friend, but you really have to. You got to show that you care. Why should they care about you and your company if you don't?
Yeah, right. And so you mentioned rituals, and I like that word. Do you have any rituals that you use to keep the core values in front of people and keep reminding them about them?
I'd say we've kind of fallen off a little, but we did have, like, we call it a brand ambassador award, or recognition of someone that really spoke the words, really showed who Artisan is by how they treated someone, or by their correspondence, that little badges of recognition, things like that. But it's so instilled, I'd say, in our culture that it's very strong. So I believe, anyway, it's very strong as far as I can tell from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. If it's very strong and you're hiring people that are also a fit, and after enough time, I guess you can get this culture where it doesn't need a lot of reinforcement for you because it just is happening naturally.
It happens naturally, and then the people that don't fit, those flags come up very quickly, and I don't have to do discovery. Oh, is this person right or not? They come to me and they're like, you know what, Bejan, I don't think XYZ is going to work out. Instead of waiting 6 months, a year to find out that they're not a good fit.
Yeah. So you came up with one nice story there, Bejan, around the blind talent that you're able to place.
Right.
Any other sort of stories that you can think of that have helped define one of your core values? And just remind us what those words are, what they are again, the core values.
I'd say the words, smart, caring, nurturing, creative, and driven.
Okay.
And then on top of that is our slogan.
Inspiring better lives.
Better lives. That's not on the outside. That's not, we're advertising that, but that's what we speak. That is, doing to inspire better lives. I'm trying to think of stories to answer your question. There's been quite a few. Especially there's been a few instances where freelancers have come into town from out of town. They don't know anybody in the city. They're kind of, I don't want to say, they really do need a job. They don't know. And, we give them a place where obviously they have to have the talent. If they're talented and we interview them, we will, usually we found people many jobs. We open many doors to people that they would never have gotten a job if it wasn't for us. So there are many stories like that, and it's changed their careers, and they've written us thanking us for giving them that opportunity. Because we do have great relationships with many companies, and fortunately, as an individual, sometimes it's hard to get in the door to a large corporation, and we have those doors. We have access to those.
So, Bejan, I know something that you're fairly passionate about on this subject is this word engagement. We hear so much about how so many employees at so many companies are disengaged.
Right.
Tell us a bit about your thoughts on engagement.
For me, an engaged employee, it really, again, it stems around the word culture. Is what is your culture like? What are you doing internally to keep these employees, your top performers, engaged? Are you spending time with your low performers, or are you spending more of your time with your engaged employees? And you have to really figure out who those people are, your engaged employees. With being that it's a candidate-driven market, you know what? They can pick up and go very quickly, and you're going to lose, as someone that's a leader within your organization, it's difficult to replace those people. And it's not necessarily monetary. You really need to find out what is keeping this person here. What are they happy about? What are their dreams and aspirations? I mean, those are the questions one needs to ask if you're not asking them. and you're from a productivity standpoint, 50 to 70% of your employees are disengaged, and you're, as a company, you're losing a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Calls aren't being made, things are being dropped. There's no follow-up. People are coming in, as mentioned before. Chairs are spinning at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
There, that's a terrible person to have as an employee. And the thing to really think about is those that are engaged. What are you doing to keep them internally? You must have a plan for those key people, key employees.
Yes, and of course you would know too, being in the placement business, how expensive it is if you get the wrong employee in.
Yes, extremely expensive. It takes a lot of time. Your resources are being used. HR people, if you multiply her or his rate and then your own internal hourly rate, by the time you interview someone and fly them in, et cetera, that's a lot of money to make a wrong hire. So you obviously want to make sure that you're finding the right person, but what are you doing to keep them engaged?
Right.
That person's hired. That's a whole nother.
Yeah. So first define your culture, have a great culture, then make sure you hire people that are fitting the culture, and you have processes around retaining those great fits. And then can you say that you've seen with Artisan that you've seen a positive impact? I mean, can you tie it to financial success? Have you been financially more successful as a result of having a better culture?
From my own experience, absolutely. We've had good times and bad times, but I would say the last 8 years we've really grown, and it's because of our ability to hire great people, and we don't have a lot of turnover. That's another thing that we're quite proud of, is that there's very little turnover. Sure, you get it little waves now and then, but I do have people that have been with me 15, 18, 10, 9 years.
That's great. Yeah.
Reason why they stay, right? Because they feel culturally there's a connection, they're completely engaged. And as a leader, I know that I can leave, I can go away. I know that you're going to be taking care of the business. And I always tell them, like, it's not about working for me. It's actually, I work for you, creating an environment so that you can do the best that you can. And Artisan is the mothership,
yes.
So make the right decisions for betterment of the company and yourself.
Yes.
That's my decision, right?
And I think an interesting word to use here is safety. People, if they feel safe in their place of work, then of course they feel that they can be themselves and they can do their best work. It sounds like you make them feel valued, and then they feel like they're doing something meaningful because they're helping inspire better lives. And why would those people want to leave?
And I've had stories where people have left and they've come back.
Okay. Yeah.
I've had 3 or 4 of those. So that says something about who we are as a company and as a culture.
It does indeed. People sometimes think the grass is greener on the other side. They go and taste it and they think, oh no, it was greener back
Bejan, I made a mistake. I'm like, are you sure about this?
Yeah.
They come back and they're really very thankful, and again, it gives them inspiration, I'd say, as well.
Yeah. So what we kind of missed over in terms is what process did you use to go through determining your core values?
We touched, basically, as I had thought about, is that we did use a third party, in terms of a company came in, a marketing / brand company at the time. This was quite some time ago.
So you were ahead of the curve. You were ahead of the curve on this cultural stuff, Bejan.
I'd say yes. This is back. Honestly, this is back in 2000. 2002. And people thought I was crazy. Like, why would you be spending this much money on figuring out your culture?
Yeah.
Get people on go get more sales, and et cetera, et cetera. And I said, you know what? In order for me to build a company that has some kind of legacy, this is not just a short term. I'm not looking at the short term. I don't look at the short term. I guess that's what the vision as to where I want the company to go, because I want it to work without me being there, and getting it to that point. But it was a long process. There was a lot of interviews, internal interviews, interviewing all the employees internally, and then, of course, going outside and interviewing clients, interviewing the talent that we place. And you're going to get very different perspectives, perspectives that they wouldn't necessarily tell you. So from that, we got an idea as to what the key messaging was and what type of company. And back then they didn't call it persona, but I guess we figured out what our persona was, and we stayed true to that.
Okay, that's awesome. So, so basically, you used an outside service to help you come in and discern or determine who you are as an organization, then put words that defined your culture, and those were basically what became your core values.
Exactly.
And you did this nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah. 20. God, yes, it's been
Good
that long.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we've kept it that way. It hasn't changed. Yes, there's been tweaks here and there, but once you figure out the core value of your organization, your core value, your messaging, and your why, then everything kind of works around that. Because then if you make a decision, does it really fit into the why? And if it doesn't, then what was the reasoning behind that decision? If you made it, why did you do that?
Yeah, and I think some hard-driving CEOs would think that the softer side of things is a little, is kind of overplayed and doesn't really have value. But it clearly does for you, right?
It does for me, and I think more and more companies are going to be doing that. They have to if they want to survive with the newer generation.
Yes.
People that are more in touch with their feelings,
more
in touch with their emotions, and the cultural fit. They want that place, for me, culture isn't about bringing in a ping pong table and some bean bags and then
right. Or the kegerator.
It doesn't work. So
right.
It stems from the belief of the C-suite. It has to start there. If it doesn't start there, then you've got a kind of a wild organization that's going to go its own way, whatever that way is, good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I use the example of the US Constitution and how we coexist as a country with values that are really defined by the Constitution. And if we didn't have that, what would it be like? How would we coexist harmoniously?
Right, that would be pretty difficult.
Yes. And so the same thing in a company. Why would you want to run a company without, a constitution, effectively, a set of values that you can go to as a compass?
And I would say to add to that is, if there's advice at all, is to make it simple. And that's hard, right? It's hard to get it to that simplicity, but you've got to get it to the point where all your employees, they don't need a big message. They need, I looked at it as a phrase, and just start with this phrase, inspiring. Inspire what?
Yeah.
Inspiring something.
And although we call this a sort of soft skills, it's actually quite hard to do, isn't it? It's quite hard to discern your core values and to manage them and to keep them alive and thriving.
Absolutely.
But of course, it tends to be a good investment.
I'd say, from my perspective and experience, best investment. As you can see, how long ago I did it. We're still using it.
Yeah.
Yes, we've changed it. We have a different brand. In terms of look and feel, but in terms of the culture and the words that we choose, I mean, those are phrases that we are intentional. The wording that we have. As an example, we're in the recruiting business, but we don't call ourselves recruiters. The recruiters are actually called talent representatives. There's a reason behind that. It's how we treat the talent. That we're not just recruiters and slapping resumes up on the wall, hoping that someone will hire them.
Yeah. Well, thanks. So I think as we're coming to the end of our interview, that perhaps you've reminded me about asking about the fun side of things, because I like to say that working on culture, it can be one of the lowest capital investments you have to make, right? It doesn't take a lot of capital or cash, but it can be very rewarding. So you've got a very high return. And it's fun though too, isn't it? If the C-suite's talking about this kind of thing and you're making people feel good, it's fun.
Yeah. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that organization?
Yeah, right.
You got to have some. For me, you got to have that spirit of fun. You have to come in. You have to have some laughter, yes, but you also have to work, understood. But if you have someone that's engaged, they're going to do it. They're going to come in. They're going to have fun, but they understand what their goals are. They know that we have to reach a certain amount. But for them, it doesn't. I'd rather it not be a job, but it's coming in to more of a career, learning, camaraderie, and celebrating certain goals that once we meet those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. Exactly. Okay. Well, I think that's a great note to finish on, the fun one. It's certainly been fun interviewing you today, Bejan, and hearing about your great success at Artisan Talent, 30-year history, determining your core values almost 20 years ago, and how today it's as important or more important than it's ever been for you as a success driver for your company.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So congrats. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fun.
Okay. Right. Well, fun for you. You love to travel. Fun for you perhaps to be opening offices outside of North America.
You know what? That has been on my bucket list, so we'll see. Why not?
Okay. I look forward to the update on that. Thanks a lot, Bejan.
Thank you. Take it
Cheers.
easy.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at culturezars.com, and we'll see you next time.